Hi, this is Cayden from VIA Value Investing Academy. Now, welcome all of you to our deep dive series again. And for this evening, it's going to be very exciting because for this evening deep dive series, we'll be talking about two companies instead of one. And the first company we're going to talk about is Teladoc, and the second company that we're going to talk about is Twitter. But before I jump into the actual analysis of the company and so on, I just want to share with you a very quick story that took place early this evening, which is about 2+, right? 2+, right? So actually yesterday was my birthday. So yesterday I turned maybe 25. And then maybe I ate too much cake or whatsoever. So at 2+, this evening, actually I vomited. Yeah, the last time I vomited, I think it was on a plane a couple of years ago. Now, if some of you have experienced vomiting, actually the feeling is quite bad. It's as though somebody is squeezing your stomach, and then uncontrollably, all the stuff will just come out from your mouth. So it's like a Malayan trying to spew the vomit. So it was really a very bad feeling about 2:30 this morning. Yeah, so after I vomited once, I thought it was okay. I went back to the living room and then I sat down again. Then subsequently, I feel a bit nauseous. So I went to the toilet and then did my vomit twice. Yeah, so after the second time, I felt a bit better. Yeah, but after that, I was thinking, is there some medicine that I could take and so on, right? Then I realized that I don't really have a first aid kit at home. I think that was the first mistake. And then I was concerned that tonight I would not be able to come here and then I would tell Hillary, you have to handle this on your own. Well, but fortunately, I think everything went fine. But of course, the reason why I shared this story is because early morning, 2+ a.m., right? I think it's quite difficult for me to see a doctor and then want to get some medicine. I think it's going to be very difficult. Yeah, so I was asking myself, wouldn't it be nice if I have an app, right, that I could just on a single press of the button, I'm able to access a doctor and ask them, what am I supposed to do? And if there's a drone, they could send the medicine to me in the next 30 minutes. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, which is why today we're going to talk about one company, right, which is called Teladoc, which has to do something with making a phone call, pressing the app, talking to a doctor, and seek out medical help. By the way, even though tonight, coincidentally, we talk about Teladoc, the story that I spoke of, the vomiting one, that one is real. So it's just by chance, right? Now, so let's jump into the topic that we're going to talk about, which is Teladoc first. Then after that, the break, followed by Twitter. But before that, our standard protocol, right, for VIA is to have a disclaimer. So there's a whole chunk of disclaimer over here, but I'm just going to go through some of the key things, right? Which is, maybe I start from the second paragraph. Now, just to let you know that tonight we're going to talk about two companies. And remember, right, in no event shall VIA, nor me and Hillary, right, be liable to any viewers, guests, a third party for damages of any kind. Yep, arising out of the use of any content shared here this evening. So remember, right, including without limitation the use of such content outside of its intended purpose, right, or investor education, investment losses, and so on, the whole chunk. So remember, neither MyKinesis Investment Private Limited nor VIA, right, nor the authors, which is two of us, are operated by or affiliate with any broker, dealer, or licensed financial advisor. So remember, right, a share price in the past is not a very good predictor of the future. So this is a whole chunk disclaimer. So let me just jump straight, right? Now, let me share with you why of all like 3,400 companies, why do we talk about this company called Teladoc? Yeah, we started talking about Teladoc because of one person. And this person is called Cathie Wood. By the way, I saw the YouTube blinking, right? Yeah, I saw the YouTube blinking, right? Yeah, so I just want to make sure that it's okay right now. Hey, by the way, I talk so much. Are you able to hear? If you're able to hear and see my slide, can you just type yes while I continue, right? While I continue. So there are about 71 people watching. I think as time passes, there'll be more. Yep, so just now I was saying that we identify this company Teladoc because of one lady called Cathie Wood. Later we talk about who is Cathie Wood. So Cathie Wood invested, right, $20 million in this company called Teladoc, while the share price was right at the bottom. So you always hear people buying the dip, buy the dip. So you have to be very careful that not all companies you should buy the dip, because sometimes when you buy low, it gets lower. When you buy lower, it gets lowest. So who is Cathie Wood? Now, Catherine D. Wood, which is her full name, right? She's the founder, CEO, and she's the chief investment officer of this company called ARK Invest. ARK Invest. So she founded ARK Invest for two reasons. So she focused on disruptive innovation. Now, all the things that she say is really exciting. Oh, disruptive innovation companies and so on. So in other words, if I could summarize in one sentence, right, she, in her own words, she said, we are all about finding the next big thing, next Amazon, next Facebook, maybe next Starbucks and so on. She's all finding the next big thing. And way back in 1 year ago, right, if you see this YouTube channel over here, I already so-called introduced who is Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood, and then the title is, should we invest in ARK? Because that was the fund that she has founded. And the reason why I did this series of video about 1 year ago is because about a year ago, right, her ARK funds was doing very well. And I mean, if you're an investor, right, for the past 2 years, except for the last few months, everybody will be doing well because the market was highly bullish. So if you buy any stock that is okay, right, you can still make money. Now, be very careful that if you do well during a bull run, you may think that you're a genius. So you have to be very careful. So during that time, her ROI for ARK funds were really very high. And then a lot of YouTube influencers were saying, we should invest in ARK ETM and so on. So out of curiosity, I went to investigate who is Cathie Wood and what is this ARK Invest funds, right? There's such a big deal, Yeah. And that's how I got to know Cathie Wood and her ARK funds. Now, if you want to know more, you can always visit our YouTube channel, which is over here. YouTube channel over here is actually youtube.com, right, /Value Investing Academy. And at the channel, we also talk about Palantir. Palantir is another company that YouTubers like to talk about, influencers like to talk about, right? Tesla, of her ARK Innovation ETF, the largest allocation is actually on Tesla. So I like to talk about what other people talk about to see whether the so-called social media companies, are they really a good company to invest? And of course, our channel also talk about Nubank, because there was this rumor, right, or there is this news that said Buffett interested in crypto. Actually, also not true, right? So be very careful about what you read, watch, and hear on the social media. And of course, Netflix, we talked about this about 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago, and then recently, or is it just a couple of days? I think Netflix laid off 150 employees. 150 employees. So it appears that they are not doing so well. Right? Actually, I'm a Netflix subscriber, so I realized that their movie getting worse and worse. Then they have their own in-house movie, right? But I also don't know who are these people. So I have this feeling that one day I'm going to unsubscribe, and maybe I'm going to change to HBO or Disney Plus. So I think Netflix some trouble, right? Then after that, we talk about PayPal, after we talk about HP. So in short, our deep dive series really has a lot of companies. Yeah. So if you want to know, set our own alert system and so on, right? What you need to do is, there is this QR code over here. You just need to use your phone, right? Just scan, and then a message is going to pop out, and then you just click subscribe, which means that every time when we introduce some very new, relevant educational content, you'll be the first to know. Yeah. So I'm going to leave this QR code here for a couple of seconds before I carry on. Wow, so very good. So right now we are about 91 people watching this. Thank you. So we have some regulars. Regulars. Xiong-bun, are you a grad? Grad, right? Okay, so let's get started. Yeah. So just now we talked about Cathie Wood, our YouTube channel, and then her funds, right, appears to be doing well during a bull run. So let's look at here, right? Now, if you look at 2020, that was the very beginning of this COVID. Now, so there's a small little dip over here, right? Yeah, small dip over here because there's this new virus that came. And then interestingly, there's a V-shaped recovery. So can you see here? Pew! So all along, right, her funds were unknown. Her funds were unknown. So I think fortunately because of this COVID, can you see her fund shot up? So her fund started off with a market price of just $20, right? And then here it was unknown. Nobody knows who is Cathie Wood. And it's only at this point that people say that she's the next Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett. Why? Because the share price suddenly flew up to 154, right? So in other words, everybody on the high side, if you buy here, you will have made like what, 7 times or how many times, right? Then subsequently, every bull after that, bearish, right? Bearish. So it drops back to 40 again. So for those people, the proponent of the ARK Invest fund, so right now, quite silent, right? But you see, how should I say, life is quite unpredictable, including the vomit I had this morning. So we always have to look at the long term. Now, which means that if you bought it here, 20 here, still not bad. You can still make about 100%, right? But across about 7 years. So 7 years, 100%, good or bad, I let you decide, right? So that is her performance of her ARK Invest funds. Now, so like I say, right, there are a lot of people talk about, oh, Cathie Wood, the next Warren Buffett, is buying millions of Teladoc shares. That's how people start to pay attention to what is this Teladoc. And then there is also this news, right? Oh, Teladoc is on the verge of replacing Tesla as ARK Invest's biggest holding. Have you ever wondered, those news reporters, CNBC, Market Insider, and so on, I like to write about the latest things. Because latest things people talk about, then people go read the article, right? So then they can drive traffic up. Yeah. So now, if I look at ARK Invest funds, so what are her stock allocation? So as of this afternoon, the largest holding is still Tesla. Yeah, Teladoc is somewhere around here. So Teladoc, I don't foresee is going to replace Tesla any soon, right? Because still quite an amount away, And then she has other companies like Roku, Zoom, this one everybody know. Exact Sign, I have no idea what is it. Block actually is also not a very good company. And about a year ago, I talked about Cathie Wood and her ARK Invest fund because I noticed that even though there's so much hype about this ARK Invest ETF, right, as well as other of her ETFs, I noticed at least if you look at the ETF, right, at least 50% of the allocation are companies that are losing money. Yeah, or rather, company has not shown any signs of profitability yet. Yeah, maybe I couldn't see those things that she see. So what happened is in the YouTube video, I said, I'm quite old school, right? So if there aren't any proven profitability that's being shown by the company, so my take is to stay away from the ETF as of now, right? So let's talk about this Teladoc, which is one company among all her holdings in ARK Invest ETF. Now, to better illustrate, I think I'll ask my team member, right, to play the first video, and it talks about how does Teladoc works. Then later we jump into the detail. Yeah, so I just get.
Meet Jessie. Like every parent, she wants what's best for her family. Malia and Aiden mean the world to her. Of course, just like every parent, Jessie is busy, which is why Teladoc works so well for her. Teladoc gives her peace of mind because Jessie knows her family can get sick anytime. It's never convenient. But whenever she needs our care, she can always reach a doctor or pediatrician within minutes. No expensive late-night trip to urgent care or the ER.
Hi, Malia. I'm Dr. Potter. How are you feeling tonight?
Not so good.
I'll send over a prescription right away.
Thank you, Dr. Potter.
Thank you, Dr. Potter.
When medically necessary, a prescription can even be sent to the pharmacy of your choice, which helps everyone sleep better at night.
Kids, it's time to go. How you doing?
Good.
Good. You look awesome. Yeah? All right, let's rock it, huh?
For 24/7 access to U.S. board-certified doctors, turn to Teladoc.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. If you have watched this short video, right, you could relate to this term called Teledoc. So doc means doctor, right? Tele means telecommunication, which means that if you are sick, if you have an app, and then if you can type a message, arrange an appointment, talk to the doctor, that would be great. Yeah, which is like what happened to me early this morning. If I could talk to the doctor, get some medicine, that would be great. So Teladoc. And remember, the Cathie Wood was saying that she wants to search for a next big thing, right? Because traditionally, all forms of so-called seeing a doctor is always taking a transport, go to the place, see a doctor, and so on. So right now, if you could do all this thing virtually, right, wouldn't it be great? And of course, the emergence of this pandemic has accelerated all these things. Instead of traveling to see a doctor, you don't want social distancing, right? Yeah, so wouldn't it be nice if you can see a doctor virtually? So you can see these are some of the reasons why Teladoc so-called appear on some people's radar. So you see the pandemic changed things. Yeah, you don't have to like see a doctor, right? Face to face. Then some other news is having a virtual platform allows medical institutions to cross-sell their products. And this one, right? And Teladoc revenue, right, right now stands at $2 billion. So through the eyes of Cathie Wood, that's a real business. So at least they have some revenue, right? And of course, in terms of competition, some of their closest competitor are, let's say, United Health, right? But if you look at the ratio, such as a price to sale ratio, here is 5 times and United Health is 13 times. So what does it mean? It simply means that the smaller the number, the cheaper it is. But remember this, be very careful, right? They're just using price to sales ratio. This is a relative valuation, it's not absolute. So take it with a pinch of salt. So some people, when they want to argue their way through, right, they will find something to argue their way. And of course, here they want to say, oh, Teladoc is very good. Let me tell you, the next 3 to 5 years' time, I think their revenue will increase and so on. So these are some of the reasons that all over the place that's trying to push Teladoc is the next big thing, which is what Cathie Wood is trying to say also. So Cathie Wood, in her own words, okay, Teladoc is becoming the healthcare information backbone of US. Yep. Now, so why is there such a news? Now, if you look at the share price of Teladoc, it has plunged from the most recent high of 293, right, to this afternoon price of 30, and that's a 90% drop. 90% drop, which means that if you say buy the dip, you have to be very, very careful. Yeah. So because you buy at 30, right, it may go down to $3. Yeah, so you have to be very careful. When people say buy the dip, you have to be very careful. So recently, remember this crypto called Luna, right? I think plunged to almost 0.00 something like that too. Yeah, then on Twitter, I read some message, buy the dip. Something like that. Buy the dip. I don't know, are they talking about salsa dip or whatever? So you have to be very careful. You cannot apply buy the dip to anything that you don't understand, especially those that are losing money. Yep. So let's go into the detail. So, Cathie Wood really buy the dip. So now the question is, why did Cathie Wood still bullish, right, on this Teladoc, even though the share price actually is not 50%, it's actually 90%, right? 90%. So these are some of her argument. So remember, right, she is finding some data and then she's trying to say, hey, I believe this is so and so. So she said that in terms of the visit volumes using the Teladoc, right, the volume has grown 5 times more. 5 times is 500%, which is quite a lot, right? And then the paid members, in terms of the number of paid members, it has also grown. So even though the company is not so profitable yet, some of this telltale sign, right, is trying to tell Cathie Wood that it's the next big thing. But remember, right, volumes, revenue, and all this have not been translated to profit yet. So here you see an argument, right? 1 out of 6 Americans is already a full Teladoc member. So she's also trying to put forward, what if there's 2 out of 6 Americans? What if 3? What is 4? So there are still 5, right, rooms for growth. So when I read this, it sounds quite exciting. It appears that Teladoc is right at the very, very beginning of their growth, like a fetal stage, right? And of course, here, Teladoc is BRL company's transition from a general telehealth, right, to a B2B enterprise solution. These are quite generic statements that makes the whole thing looks quite exciting. Be very careful. So let's go deep dive into Teladoc and see whether what Cathie Wood is interested, does it make sense to us, right? Now, so remember Teladoc, right? Let me just write this word Teladoc. Using telecommunication for the patient like myself, right, to see a doctor, right? So of course, in their annual report, they talk about something, I use very strong words. They are a global leader, right, in a whole person virtual healthcare, so they don't see face to face. And remember, right, telecommunication, so it's telemedicine, so Teladoc. And then here they're trying to argue that this Teladoc, right, is not just a company, but this company focuses on a whole person healthcare rather than treating one single sickness. For example, in the early days when my father has diabetic, right? Yeah, diabetic. Usually diabetic, you can see a diabetic doctor. Yeah, so if you got another problem, you see another doctor. But here it seems like it's a one-stop station instead of seeing different doctors at different point, right? Yeah. So this is what they meant by a whole person healthcare. Yeah, treat it as a whole individual, right, with multiple chronic disease and not just one single condition. And of course, the key thing is seeing a doctor and then using the latest technology via telecommunication, using smartphone, PC, and so on. So I guess as time passes, when technology or phones, laptop become more and more powerful, then it's easier. I think it benefits Teladoc. Now, so I'm not going to read the whole sentence, but if I list out all this, which are found on the annual report, they're trying to say that, hey, you know, since it's virtual, right, you have access to the best healthcare anywhere, you know, empower you, and so on. So, okay, I don't want to read this, but so in other words, they are like the Taobao, right, of telemedicine. Taobao, So what do I mean if I reverse this, right? So you know Taobao TB, right? So for example, if I'm a consumer, I want to buy things. So traditionally before internet, when you want to buy things, you have to go from shop to shop, right? So now if you can buy things virtually, where you list out all the things that you can buy, it provides convenience for the consumers, right? Same thing if Cayden is here, right? Cayden want to see a doctor, and I have multiple issue, whether it's chronic or whatsoever. So I have to see multiple doctors. But if I could go to one stop, which is Teladoc, and it allows me to see doctors from different specialties, right? Whether is it cancer, whether is it diabetic or something else. Wouldn't that be great? One-stop station. And of course, other than benefiting the consumers, you also benefit the service provider, which is B, which is the business, right? Yeah, so it's like a B to a C, but it's an aggregate. So a one-stop station, like a Taobao in telemedicine. Now, so moving on, let's trace back to a very quick history, right, about who founded Teladoc. Now, Teladoc is founded by this guy called Byron Brooks, who is a doctor, right? Yeah, his headquarters is New York, and then IPO in 2015, and then the share price was 19. So right now, I think it's $30. You can still make money if you bought it IPO, but over quite a few years. And right now, right, Teladoc is over in 133 countries. So I think within 7 years, they really grow fast. So this one I give credit to them, right? And you can see out 7 years, they already have 53 million paid members. I think that's a lot. That's really a lot. That's really quick for 7 years, right? And this is the interesting part. Remember, I was talking about the vomit. If I could access healthcare 24 hours a day, anytime, anywhere, wouldn't it be nice? Yep. Now, so what are the brands under Teladoc? And just now I was talking about, you know, like the telemedicine in the Taobao world, right? Taobao world. So in order for a patient to have access to different healthcare, on the other side, right, which is a B to C, which is me, the business partner need to have, how should I say, a certain number of healthcare providers. And these are some of the brand names. Now, but unfortunately, if we are Singaporean residing in Singapore, some of these names are not very familiar to us. But I think for the Americans, some of these names will be quite familiar. So at least, you know, there are, at least you know that within the Teladoc itself, there are various healthcare providers. Now, so what are the services that the solution that makes Teladoc such a big deal, right? Now, so predominantly they target or they benefit three groups. The first group that they benefit is our consumers. Remember just now I was talking about like Taobao, right? Trying to sell little item to consumers. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is from the consumer perspective, how do me, right, as a patient benefit from Teladoc? I mean versus going on site to see a doctor, right? So this is the first thing. And the second thing I'm going to talk about, how does it benefit the business, which is the clinicians, the healthcare providers, and so on. Yeah. Then the third thing is we're going to talk about for those people with chronic disease. Now, there's a difference between chronic and acute. Now, chronic means a very long-term disease. Diabetes is a very good example of a chronic disease where you have no other choice but to take regular medicine. Acute condition, right, is one time off, or you fall sick and then that's it, acute. For example, COVID is acute rather than a chronic issue. So let's talk about how does Teladoc benefit consumers. Because only when it benefit consumers and patients, then we will use. If we don't use, then that's it already. Yeah. So remember, right, in 7 years, they have grown to 58 million paid members, and that's really extraordinary. So let's look at patients, consumers. So how does it benefit, right? So remember, the key thing is 24/7. Yeah, low cost. I don't have to fly. I don't have to travel. I don't have to drive, right? And I can see a doctor via phone, video, app. Yeah. For example, remember I thought my condition of vomit 2+ a.m., right? So imagine if there is no Teladoc and I need to go and see a doctor. Let's say there's something more serious than vomit. You know, I have to maybe call an ambulance or call a cab. Time is involved, then some money is involved, right? But if I could make a call, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah. So that's what I mean by low cost. So it save time and save money, right? And of course, you have easy access to a dedicated care team. Now, in case some of you have some experience with our A&E, even past midnight, you may have to wait a couple of hours. Yeah, a couple of hours. But what if things are much simpler? You don't have to wait that long. And then even if you wait, you don't have to wait under the corridor of hospital, right, but at the comfort of home. So wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. So these are some of the benefits for consumers. Now, so let's talk about the so-called if you want to use Teladoc, right, versus the traditional on-site, go and see a doctor. How does this work? Now here there is a diagram. There's a diagram, right, where it talks about, if I want to see a doctor, right, I can select what kind of symptoms, book an appointment, have a video consultation with the doctor instead on site, get a prescription, and then eventually they send the medicine to me, right? So this flow diagram may not give enough credits to the amount of work Teladoc has done, right? So what I'm going to do is need our teammates help to play the video, right? And this video is playing from the perspective about, starting from downloading the app and how do you use the app, okay? So I'll just let my teammate give more information about how to use the Teladoc.
Welcome to Teladoc, 24/7 access to doctors by phone, video, or app. Connecting with a doctor through video on the Teladoc app is a simple, convenient, and effective way to feel better, faster. How to start a doctor visit on the Teladoc app. Make sure you have downloaded the Teladoc app and have your account set up. Before you start the video visit, check to make sure you have a strong signal on your phone. Tip: opt in to notifications so we can send you reminders about upcoming doctor visits. Open the Teladoc app and select Request a Visit. Select who needs help. Choose Video Call and the preferred time for your visit. Fill out the reason for your visit and upload any helpful pictures. Choose a pharmacy so we can quickly send in a prescription. Confirm the information you submitted. You're all set up for a video visit. Click Join Waiting Room. Here are some things to keep in mind to make sure your doctor is able to reach you. We'll send you a notification when your visit is about to begin by email or by text if you choose. If you've scheduled a visit, open the Teladoc app 10 minutes before the scheduled time. Check on the status in the waiting room. It will update when a doctor is reviewing your health information before the visit. If you're having trouble connecting with your doctor or have technical issues, call us at 1-800-835-2362 and our care team will help you get connected. After your visit, you will get a summary of your visit, including relevant prescriptions and follow-up info. After the visit, you'll receive a survey. We are always looking to improve your experience, so please take a moment to fill it out. With the Teladoc app, talking to a doctor has never been easier.
Yeah. If you have watched the previous video, right, it gives some detail about, if you download the app, how do you see a doctor and so on. So I think before we invest in any company, it's important for us to know what's going on. You cannot watch a 5 minutes YouTube video and then say, I'm going to put 10,000 in, right? I think it doesn't make sense. So at least now you have a feel, okay, I'm a consumer, I'm a patient, a Teladoc, that doesn't make sense for us. Now, so that is from the consumer perspective. Yeah. Now, then how about the clinician, which are the doctors, right? So how does doctor benefit from using a Teladoc? Remember, right, Teladoc is at Taobao. They are the middleman that's trying to match the consumers with the doctors. Yeah. So both sides have to benefit before Teladoc become a big deal. And there also need to be some wide acceptance that instead of traditionally seeing a doctor on site, I want to see a doctor virtually. Yeah. So there are some little things because human behavior need to change, right? Yeah, but for me, I think I still, because I went through cancer a couple of times, I don't think I want to see an oncologist via an app. Yeah, I think I still want to see, listen to a doctor and so on. By the way, the last time I went to NCCS, I think I waited 2 hours and then 2 minutes visit. Yeah, but that is a one-off. So some people, I don't want to queue up, maybe Teladoc makes sense. So how does it benefit doctors, right? So if you look at all this, these are the traditional flow. Why, it's a lot of things. I'm not going to describe all this, right? But what this slide is trying to say is there is this software that's provided by Teladoc, which can integrate to Microsoft Teams, and then it adapts to the traditional clinical flow to make things more efficient. Otherwise, there's a lot of things to do. Can you see? Pass to here, pass to there, and then eventually, healthy patient. Yeah, healthy patient. Yeah, so it's very software-based, very virtual-based. You can do a self-service check-in. Oh, by the way, just to let you know that our, I think SingHealth, right, Health Buddy also have this self-service check-in. Because recently, before I go to NCCS, they actually send me SMS, right, for me to do a self-service check-in. Yeah, but the only thing is, even though I do after I do a self-service check-in, I'm allowed to see the queue. Yeah, very interesting. And then they will tell me, oh, there's 5 patients before me, 4 patients before me. Yeah, so if there are 10 patients, at least I can go and lim kopi first, right? In the early days, you have to sit there and wait, and you have no idea how many patients. And then if you ask the nurse very angry with you, right? Correct. So you see, things has changed. Things has changed, right? Yeah. Real-time consultation. And then this one also quite interesting. Now, if you have seen a doctor recently, right now, all the so-called your clinical files are centrally stored. So that if you go NUH, you go SGH, you go Changi Hospital, right, they are able to access the files computerized. Yeah, but during my time when I was in my 20s, I do not know whether you know or not. They don't have a soft copy, right? So they go by hard copy. So when they go by hard copy in a hospital, right, they will have this MRT track on top. Yeah, I'm track. Right? Then you see this box, metal box. And then when I was a kid, it's quite nice. I sit there just watch. And then after that, it goes inside the doctor's room, right? And then I don't know what they do. They open up, then it goes from one part to another one. So you see this thing running around, the MRT running around. So it's quite interesting. So right now you don't see. So you see the world has changed. Yeah, not only they have a soft copy, everybody has a soft copy. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Now, and of course, there are other benefits. Other benefits, right? For example, if the software is configurable, and then they created certain software and platform, right, that allows a seamless virtual care experience. So even though it sounds like very virtual, right, I suppose their end-to-end gives you a feeling that even though it's virtual, you're like seeing a doctor face-to-face. And I'm quite sure in future, I'm not very sure whether will Teladoc eventually end up like in metaverse, metaverse where you wear a mask, right, and then you talk to the doctor, then the doctor touch your face with the metaverse. Wow, so it's hard to imagine, but it appears that this is where the direction is. Everything is all virtual, end-to-end, no longer the MRT track. And so that are some of the things that benefits the doctors, where they can provide consumer care, chronic care as well. So that is the second part. Yeah. So the moment consumers benefit, there are some benefit for doctors. Then both sides, right, want to use. Then this Teladoc become like interchange, right, like a Taobao, right, which allows act as a middleman to mix and match different treatment. Then how about those patients with a chronic condition, right? So just now, remember I talked about chronic conditions such as diabetes and so on. Yeah. So of course, Teladoc also provide certain equipment device, right, where it can be integrated to their app. Yeah. So that a patient can manage their own current existing chronic condition. And the doctors can also have access to the data and so on. Yeah. So far, these are the things that Teladoc is doing. But remember, right, no matter how exciting Cathie Wood paint Teladoc to be, or anyone say, oh, you can do this, is the next game changer, we have to be very careful. Now, so these are very qualitative. So right now, if you know, right, Teladoc basically do 3 things. For consumers, middleman, right, for consumers, for clinician, as well as for chronic condition. So let's look at the numbers. Does the number, right, support the assumption that Teladoc is going to be the next big thing? So with that, I'm going to hand over to Hillary, right? Hillary, I think, is going to talk about the revenue first. Revenue first. Yeah, so over to Hillary.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Hillary here. So from now onwards, I'll be sharing on the quantitative part of the analysis on Teladoc. So first off, we'll look at how they actually generate revenue. So in 2021, they have actually generated about 2.03 billion of US dollars. And access fee is actually referring to contract. When the members try to see a doctor, they wanted to like have always recurring to see them, like those with chronic care. So this is the access fee. So that means they pay every month like a subscription fee. So it comprises of a monthly member subscription and also a licensed technology platform. So what is a licensed technology platform? Like earlier when Cayden was sharing, when the clinicians are using their software, they are actually access to their technology platform. So this is one of the fees that they are charging. And now another thing is the visit fee. That means some people think that, oh, I don't really need to see the doctor every month, so I don't need the monthly subscription, but I need to see them like as and when I'm falling sick, like what Cayden has said earlier, he suddenly had vomit at 2 a.m. and he might need to see a doctor. So this one is like per case fee. So it's like for general medical or specialty visits. And other revenue are the sale and lease of the devices, because sometimes when doctor wants to see them, some of the videos that we see is like over iPad, PCs, or telephone mobile apps. But if let's say there's some special diseases or maybe some even advanced diseases that the doctor need further investigation, you see earlier there's the telehealth devices. The doctor can actually buy or maybe rent the devices from Teladoc to treat the patients. So this is the other revenue. And we can see that in 2021, about 85% is from the access fee. And if we see by region, by geographical region, they separate into US and also international. So the international locations include 130 countries, and they actually have a headquarters. It's located in Barcelona, Spain. And they have satellites to support these international operations. So there are satellites across Europe, South America, and also Asia. So all in all, most of the customers are still in US, which stands about 87%. And now the latest figure in quarter 2022, we can see that the total revenue generated was about 565 millions, but the access fee is still taking on the huge chunk of this revenue, which is 87%. And by region, US is still taking the most of the revenue as well. Okay, next up, we will look into their future plans. So first thing is that Teladoc wants to become the first point where people approaches them. So instead, whenever a person is having sickness, they do not have to go directly to the doctor, but they can just use their smart devices and then connect to a doctor via Teladoc app. So they wanted to make it kind of like a first door for the patients to approach them first before they are being directed to some specialist if required, or maybe emergency at the hospital. So they are using it by setting up a platform, by using technologies and also data and also devices to make it as seamless experience for the patients as possible. And they actually did some strategic acquisitions so that they can expand more offerings to the patients. So earlier on, when it was shared about the brands under Teladoc, so we can see actually under all these six brands, and each brand actually offered different types of services. So in 2015, they acquired Better Help, which is for mental health. And then 2016, they acquired Healthiest You. 2017, they acquired Back's Doctor. So this one is like if someone requires some advice, some medical advice, they can use this platform. And Advanced Medical is actually to support some multinational companies that have employees overseas. So we can see that most of the clients are in US, but how about the clients in overseas? So they are using Advanced Medical to support this. And in 2020, they actually acquired Livongo and also InTouch Health. So Livongo is earlier on when Cayden was sharing about the chronic diseases, the devices like the diabetic tester and also the hypertension pressure monitoring. Those are the devices that was being used by Livongo. Okay. And then InTouch Health is to provide the enterprise solutions for the health, for the hospital and also healthcare providers. And also they try to expand the access and also touch points, like for example, a mobile app. So it makes it easier for the customers to use Teladoc instead of they must have like a PC or must have to go to a certain place to use the telehealth devices. So they can easily see a doctor via their own mobile phone. And then another thing is that they wanted to expand more clinical services to address unmet needs. Like for example, Primary 360. So Primary 360 is that they are having a group of physicians to attend to a patient for a long term. Like for example, someone signs up care plan to take care of their long-term needs, and then they have like a dedicated group of doctors or care team to take care of it. So later we will show you an example how it actually works. And then My Strength Complete is actually referring to mental health. So the same thing, we will also show a simple example on how it actually works. So for Primary 360, we will see that, for example, this lady, Olivia, she's 28 years old. She's usually very healthy, but she has some allergies to certain things, and she wanted to start a family. So at first, when she used this Primary 360, she has to first select who is the doctor that she wants. So that means when she sign up to this, there's a list of doctors that she can choose from. So she can see which doctor is the one that meets her criteria, then she can choose that doctor. And then they will require her to fill up some medical history. So once she fill up the medical history and send it out, there will be a group of care team, that means healthcare providers or clinicians. They will go through her medical history and then check if there's anything else they need before she set an appointment to meet the doctor. So once she has scheduled an appointment with the doctor and meet her over online, then they can easily cut short the consultation time. So for this example, this whole consultation time actually talks about 45 minutes, where the doctor will ask some questions to Olivia to check on her, and then make sure that they are able to address some of the symptoms that she needs. And then after the consultation, the doctor will actually set up a care plan for her in order to meet her health goals. Like, for example, to lower her blood sugar or lower the blood pressure, something like that. And this is just a one-time consultation, but along the way, they can keep on ongoing. Like, for example, Olivia has the goals to start a family. So along the way, when she's like monitoring her health, and then suddenly she has some allergies or a sinus flu, then she can actually use Teladoc, this Primary 360, and approach her primary care team. And because they have her medical history, they can easily attend to her medical needs and then advise her accordingly. And along the way, she might be also able to let them know that, oh, I'm not feeling well. And when they check on her, maybe they will say that, oh, congratulations, you're already pregnant. And then from then on, they will give her certain advice, like how she should take care of herself, or what she needs to be careful of, certain things like that. So this is Primary 360. And next up, we will see My Strength. So My Strength is more about the mental health, because right now, mental health is not just people who is like going crazy, or maybe there's certain like schizophrenic issues. It's more like people are overstressed, or maybe anxiety. Even depression is also considered mental health issues. So how this works is that they are using an app. So the patients can actually use the app to say that, how do I feel, what is on my mind, and then to rate what they are feeling over the app. That means they are more self-conscious of what their mental state is, or they can even type up like to say, how do I feel today? But it's not just you're typing into the app and that's it. Actually, they have some therapists and also psychologists in the Teladoc panel, where they can also address to the patient's needs. So it's more like when the patient is having some issue, they approach the psychiatrist. But instead of face-to-face to the psychiatrist, they're able to do this on an app, and then schedule a meet up with the psychiatrist, so that the psychiatrist can attend to them accordingly. So this is My Strength. And then next up, they also want to expand more services to the existing clients, like, for example, cross-sell. So earlier on, when we were sharing about Primary 360, maybe the person says that, oh, I want to monitor my blood pressure, or maybe want to do a family planning. But along the way, they discover that, hey, you have some of your health check data shows that you might be a pre-diabetic. So from then on, they can say that maybe you can consider to take on this program, which is Livongo. You can take these devices and also check, or maybe some other things, or even they may say that I'm having some anxiety or maybe depression, so they can go to take on another program like the Better Help to assist them regarding to their mental health. And also they wanted to drive growth, Better Help for the direct to customers. Okay, so when we are reading some articles, they will say that telemedicine, telehealth actually both of them, they sound the same. So what's the difference? So in this chart, it actually simplifies, tells that for telehealth, it's actually a broader branch of healthcare so that people can access and manage their healthcare remotely. Like for example, Fitbit, or maybe certain, like for example, Apple Health, or maybe some devices. Like there's one time Nike has a devices where they put a devices inside the shoes so that they can monitor certain health metrics, or maybe they can say that how many miles you have walked today, certain things like that. So that is part of telehealth. And telemedicine is more in-depth. That means it's more for clinicians to diagnose and treat patients remotely. So this one is more specific compared to telehealth. So these are the difference between telemedicine and telehealth. And now we will look into the moats and also competitions for Teladoc. So for economic moats, we can see that earlier on, there's a lot of offerings that Teladoc has offered, not only like those non-acute medical conditions or chronic conditions, they also offered like mental health. So another thing is that they are offering these services for 130 countries. They have satellites and they also have some local offices throughout the world. Like for example, in Europe, there's a few countries have local offices. South America has one in Brazil, Asia, another one in China. And they are also highly scalable. What does it mean? Because they are using technology. So it's kind of annoying, like suddenly when you're talking to your doctor, but then the line got cut off because the platform cannot support so many patients talking to their own doctors. So with this technology, they are able to serve over 100 million members. And earlier we see in an earlier slide that currently they have about 53 point something million of paid members in US. So this one is assured that all these members, they can meet the doctors seamlessly without any interruptions. And they are using a cloud-based technology to integrate with the smart devices. So whenever the doctor needs some data, they can easily upload it into the cloud or download it from the cloud. And also, because all these are sensitive data, they have to make sure that the data is being well protected. So they have certain security protection against the data. And they have a broad distribution channel. That means they can cater these services to business or direct to customers. So they can reach directly to individuals, attend to their needs, or maybe they can also cater the services to the businesses. Like for example, employers or health plans like insurance plans, hospitals, and also some financial service companies like the multinational companies. So that they can sign up for this, and then the employees can use these services to attend some of their medical needs. And direct D2C is actually referring to individuals. Okay, so now we look at competitors. In the telehealth landscape, it's not only telemedicine, there's also remote patient monitoring. mHealth is actually referring to mobile health. That means you can see there's Apple, there's Amazon, Fitbit. So this one is not really for like people who are having medical issues, but for people who wanted to know how is my health today, I'm curious that how is my heartbeat today, how much miles have I walked today. So for people who wanted to have a data about their health conditions, and also some medical alarms, like some people might need help to know that, oh, now is the time for me to take medicine. And Teladoc is under telemedicine. So now we'll dive deep into who are the competitors among telemedicine. So we can see that here they list out among the top 5 telemedicines within that industry. So all of them, you can see that they are actually serving almost a similar group of people with similar services for the telemedicine. And when I was doing the research, it was quite hard to pinpoint like what kind of diseases they can serve, but it's more like they give a very generic description on what kind of services that they can provide. So I can only say that most of them, they are serving similar group of people with a similar services offering. Okay. So now we'll look into the numbers. So earlier on, Cathie Wood said that Teladoc is generating about $2 billion, which is considered a real company. Yes, it is increasing year over year, and it looks very good, especially the last 2 years. Because of pandemic, the government was encouraging people to do social distancing. If there's not much issue, it will be best if you stay at home. So that's why the revenue for Teladoc was increasing rapidly for the past 2 years. But when we look at the net income, it's another story. Okay, so the definition for net income is that all of the revenue minus off all of the expenses, which turns up whether is it a profit or a loss. So from here, we can see that in 2019 to 2020, there was a very huge drop. And not only that, all of the years when Teladoc was in operation, they are always in the red. That means they are below zero. So it actually turns out to be a loss. So why there was a big dip? It's because when we see year over year, the revenue is increasing, which is a good sign. But then the expenses is also increasing, and it's increasing a lot more than the revenue. So in 2020, you can see that there was a very huge jump between 2019 to 2020. It's almost like a $1 billion increment compared to the previous year. So that's why there's a big drop, because Teladoc expanded more than what they earned from revenue. So that's why the net income is decreasing. So it's not a good sign. And the earnings per share, the definition for earnings per share is net income divided by outstanding. It means that for every share that the investor buy, how much profit can the company generate for that share? So if, for example, if the EPS, earnings per share, is $10, that means that for every share that the investor purchased, the company can generate $10 for that share. So we see that earnings per share is following closely with net income. So it's that earlier on we have established that net income is always in a loss. So the earning per share is always also in the loss. So we can see that it's below the zero, so it's always in the red. So it's also not a good sign. And then for the free cash flow, Cathie Wood says that the cash flow is positive. Yes, it is. Okay, so the definition for free cash flow is operating cash flow minus off capital expenditure. So operating cash flow is the cash flow that is generated from normal business activities, and capital expenditure is the expense that the company used to purchase assets that can last more than 12 months. So we see that most of the year, the free cash flow that the company retains is actually not able to retain, but it's only 1 year that it suddenly has a shoot up. So when we dig deeper into the annual report, we found out that actually the sharp increase was because of depreciation and amortization, and also a stock-based compensation, which are non-cash items. So it's actually not cash generated from normal business activities. So with that, it's doubtful that whether is Teladoc really able to retain, able to generate cash flow from the businesses. And next, we wanted to know that whether is Teladoc highly leveraged. That means, are they borrowing a lot of debt? So debt to equity definition is, for here, it shows that according to the value investing methodology, here shows that debt over equity is less than 0.5. So it means that for every $100 of the equity, the company cannot take more than $50 of debt. So from here, we can see that under the red line, the debt to equity ratio for Teladoc is actually below 0.5. So according to the value investing methodology, this one is actually okay because it's below 0.5. So that means they are not really highly leveraged at the moment. And now we will look into what are the potential risks that Teladoc may have should we are interested to invest in this company. So first off, we established that the financial fundamentals are not really strong because they have history of losses and they've actually accumulated quite a lot of deficits, and it's not profitable at the moment. Another thing is that there's also a very stiff competition with other telehealth providers. In the event that, because there's a lot of companies that are, we see that there's about 4 top competitors who are also providing similar telemedicine service offerings. So patients can actually choose different types of telemedicine that attends to their needs. So should they lose their clients, then the patients may not see the need to pay for the access fee or maybe the visit fee to use the platform. And in addition to that, Teladoc also need clinicians and doctors to provide these services. And if the doctor thinks that Teladoc platform is not good and they change to another telemedicine provider, Teladoc will also lose to retain the doctors. And then there's rapid technological change, because in order to cater all this meet up between doctors and patients, they need to make sure that the technology is up to date so that they can provide a seamless experience between the doctors and the patients. So they need to keep on innovating and develop new applications and services to cater for these needs. And lastly, they actually operate in very heavy regulated healthcare industry. So they have very strict regulatory compliance they need to adhere to. And should they unable to comply to the regulatory compliance, they may end up like being having some legal issues with it. Okay, so to conclude, so Teladoc is actually one of the leaders in the telemedicine and virtual healthcare, and they actually offer a very broad spectrum of clinical and healthcare services, and it has a broad distribution channel, which they cater to business and direct to customers. But unfortunately, the fundamentals are not very strong, and also there's a stiff competition within the telemedicine, and they need to always keep on innovating new technologies and also new services to cater for the needs. So with that, that is my part, and I'll pass back to Cayden.
By the way, thanks, Hilary, right? So I'm just going to transition from where Hilary left off to something that is also just as important. Now, before we go into the nitty-gritty, I just want to let you know that in investing, right, ideally you want to find a company that's unique, that's special, that they are doing something that most of the companies don't. Yep, there's something unique about them. So for example, like Warren Buffett like companies like Coke, yeah, because Coke has a special formula everybody know, right, which is a trade secret. That is something that Coke can do and then the rest cannot do. Then of course, in addition to this so-called trade secret, they have a certain brand, right? For example, Sir Richard Branson, he wanted to start a cola many years ago. Yeah, and he came up with this gimmick, right, in UK where he actually drove a tank. And then in front of him, there are many cans of Coca-Cola, right? And then his tank has Virgin Coke, because his brand is Virgin Coke, right? So he uses this as a PR stunt to roll over the traditional Coke. Then, of course, eventually the Virgin Coke didn't turn out well. Okay, so it's not so easy that everybody started Coke. I also want to start a Coke. Yeah, start a Coke. And there's a reason why Coke is still around today. And of course, the closest competitors is Pepsi Cola. So initially, when I was looking at Teladoc and also the slides prepared by Hilary, when I was looking through, it appears to be quite exciting. No? If you look at Teladoc in isolation, and it appears that Teladoc is doing something that as though the rest is not doing. Yeah. So if you look at the slides over here, right? So I just need my teammate to put the pros and cons. So you see, Hilary explained, they are the leader, so and so. So from here, if you look at this slide, it appears to be quite solid. But we are just looking at the advantages of Teladoc in isolation. Now, then there is a con, right? Yeah, so the key thing is, if they are really a leader, how come the financial is not so strong? Yeah, okay. And if they are a leader, right, how come there's still stiff competition? This is true. It could be a double-edged sword. Then the next slide, which is a bit slightly shocking to me, right, is if you look at this slide. Yeah, so without this picture, you thought that Teladoc is the only player that's standing on top of the summit of a mountain, right? Then after that, when Teladoc look around, actually the whole mountain summit all very crowded. Very crowded. They're crowded all this company. And by the way, I have no idea who they are. And based on what Hilary was saying, I remember, right, they are providing very similar service to the same bunch of patients. And then just now, the Cathie Wood was saying, out of 6 American, one of the patient, uses Teladoc. So now the question is, okay, it sounds quite nice. Out of the 6, one is using Teladoc. How about the remaining 5? The remaining 5, using Polycom, MD Live, we are not very sure. So can this 1 become 2, 2 become 3? We're not very sure. But if you look at all this company alone, it looks quite packed. Looks quite packed. And the fundamentals, unfortunately, do not show that they are doing well yet. Now, we are not very sure. Cathie Wood's argument is always she wants to see 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So maybe I cannot see that far. But hers is 5 years, very good and so on. But it's okay, right? So as of now, if you look at the facts that we have presented to you, right, you have to ask yourself, is it a go or no go? Buy or don't buy? So later on, I may need our teammates to put a poll, right? But not yet, not yet, right? Yeah. So let's talk about the risk. You know, all these risks, it has been shared by Hillary, right? You know, fundamental not strong, steep competition, rapid changes, operate heavy, regulated healthcare, and so on. Now remember, be very careful if you watch a YouTube video and then it sounds too good and too sexy to be true. Because no company is perfect. There's always pros and cons. Now, as an investor, right, our role, if we use our hard money to buy stocks, we are not concerned what if everything turns out fine. Yeah, we are not worried. We are only worried what if something goes wrong? Will we lose our entire capital? Yeah. Now, for example, if you go inside the casino, most gamblers will think that what if all things turn out right? But they wouldn't think what if things turn out wrong. So you have to be very careful. Now, and if you want to build your concern, if you're really interested, but you just want to take down, right? So now the question is, what is the valuation? Valuation, Valuation, that means the entry price, what's the intrinsic value, what price? Christian, low barrier to entry for other healthcare players. I don't think it's low barrier because in order for you to be a player, right, you need to have very good platform. And then not only you need to have a good platform, the clinician, right, which is the medical healthcare providers, must jump on your platform. Because if they don't jump on the platform, you have a lot of patients also no use. Yeah, so I think it's quite difficult. It's a chicken and egg thing, right? They need to have a lot of patients to use the platform, and to do that, they need to have a lot of healthcare providers. So the healthcare providers, they need a lot of patients. So I think this is quite tricky. And like just now what Hillary was saying, I think there's some regulation. So I don't think the barrier entry is low. Maybe compared to training service, training service is very low barrier entry. But Teladoc, I don't think so. I don't think so, right? But having said that, if you look at the previous slide, there's still a lot of competitors. So even though the barrier entry is not low, still a lot of competitors. So no matter how Cathie Wood talk about how powerful it is, let's look at the facts. Now, earnings means profit. If you buy one share, right, what's the profit? If you look at all these numbers, since the very beginning of time, there is only one trend, and the trend is down. Now, I can understand if the company is losing money, but they are losing lesser and lesser. But here, they're losing more and more. So the revenue is going up, they're collecting more and more sales, but the profit is going down. So somewhere in between are not so efficient. Right? But there may be a slight consolation about the operating cash flow. So here, all negative, right? But there are 2 years that's positive. So now, of course, the question is this. If you have a hard-earned money of 10K, 15K, 20K, right? Do you want to bet on this stock based on these 2 years of positive cash flow, right? And then hopefully, in the future, they will become the next Amazon. Do you want to play this game? So remember, this is a judgment call. The judgment call. Cathie Wood is using other people's money to make this judgment call, but you are using your own money, so you have to be very careful. And remember, right, Cathie Wood makes money from a percentage of the asset under management. So you don't make. Her role is to sell her funds. Yeah, but you're not, you see. You and me, we are not. We are putting our own money where the mouth is. So hers is different. Yeah, I'm not very sure whether she used her bank's money to invest in Teladoc, but I'm very sure she's using investors' money. So be very careful. Be very careful. Now, so let's look at the valuation. Let's say at the end of the day, you believe in what Cathie Wood is saying. There's a big deal. Eventually, Teladoc will kill the rest, become the champion, right? So what is the entry point? Now, this Morningstar has a very interesting valuation. He said that the current intrinsic value is 62, where the share price is 30. Wow. So what does it mean? This simply means that based on Morningstar, it's highly undervalued. Highly undervalued. Now, you have to be very careful because I have friends who just pay for such subscription, and then they say, oh, Morningstar say undervalued, it's undervalued. Well, this is quite dangerous. It's quite dangerous, right? Because you're using your own money to do it. So don't just take the words, $62. So let me just do a compilation. The different valuation, right, for Teladoc. So Guru Focus even more ridiculous. Guru Focus said the intrinsic value is 159. Wow, my goodness, now it's $30. Wow, super undervalued. So Morningstar is 62, right? Now VIA, which is me, this afternoon I wanted to value it, but You know, I got a hard time trying to do this. I think, yeah, maybe that's why early morning I vomited, right? So I find quite hard to evaluate. So my take is I couldn't do it lah. Yeah, but I acknowledge I'm not Cathie Wood, so I just say I cannot do it. I cannot do it, right? So I'd rather acknowledge that I cannot do it and then throw one number to you, huh? Then the current price is 30, yeah? So let's play a game lah. So I just need Susie help to prepare the poll, right? So remember, every time we have presentation, we always end up with 3 baskets, huh? So a poll is going to pop up pretty soon, right? So you just wait for a while, wait for the poll to come up, huh? So the poll is quite simple lah. You ask yourself, let's say you die, you know, want to consider a Teladoc, right? You ask yourself, is Teladoc a falling into basket A, right, which is a low risk, high return investment, or Teladoc is B, a high risk, high return investment, or Teladoc is C, that's the total, okay, a high risk, low return investment. So I think the poll has already appeared on YouTube, right? So what you need to do is, I think you're supposed to click on something, right? And then eventually we will show you the poll results. Poll results, right? So we have 133. Anyway, voting is free, huh? You don't have to use your own money, right? So I give you maybe a 10-second, right? Just press A, B, and C, huh? Okay, then later I share my thoughts. Huh? I don't influence your thoughts first, right? So let's look at the poll, right? The poll. Okay, so based on the poll, right, 71%, okay, about 60% is C. So let me write this down, right? About 60%, just a rough one, right? 60%, and then 39%. So there's 0% here, huh? 0% here. Okay, thanks, huh? Thanks. Okay, so this is the conclusion. So now most of you, right, selected C, high risk, low return. Okay, let me just share with you my thoughts. Now, number one, I did not have any position in Teladoc as of this presentation. And I don't think I have the courage to buy Teladoc. Or not even one stock. Not even one stock. So I think I will give it a miss. And if I could throw a ball right into the basket, I think I will go to B. Yeah, go to B. And if there's a D, it could be high risk, no return. Yeah, so I let you decide. Now remember, right, mine is opinion, mine is not a fact. Not a fact, right? Now I wish I'm wrong. I wish I'm wrong, and I wish you know, the investors for Teladoc all the best. If they buy and then one day they become 100%, 1000%, that'll be great. Yeah, so I think it's not suitable for me. Remember, if I don't like to eat durian, that doesn't mean that I'm right. Because it may be a fruit that I don't like, but I could choose a mango. Okay, so that's one, right? But of course, you know, after listening to us for 1 hour, well, I mean, after we talk so much, I think in the end, I goes to C. Then you're a bit, is there something better, right?
On April 25th, Twitter accepted a $44 billion bid from Elon Musk to take over the company. Should the deal go through, it would mark one of the biggest tech takeovers in history. Musk shared his reasons for making the offer at a TED conference in April.
Well, I think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech. Twitter has become kind of the de facto town square.
Leading up to the bid, Musk outlined a number of sweeping changes he plans to make to the platform, including removing its reliance on ads, adding an edit button, and changing the content moderation policy. So what are the challenges Musk faces in making his proposed changes? And could his decision to buy the company make it harder to enact these plans? Musk's bid for Twitter started in mid-April, when he made an initial offer of $43 billion.
He hasn't liked a lot of facets about Twitter. He hasn't liked the things that they do moderate content. I think he has some different views on where those bars should be.
The deal means that Musk would buy out shareholders for $54.20 a share, amounting to a $44 billion valuation. But Musk won't pay that amount out of pocket.
Keep in mind that the way Musk is paying for Twitter is he's taking out a lot of loans. Some of those are backed by his Tesla stock. Others are coming from other institutions. And loans have to be paid back.
Musk disclosed that he had secured $46.5 billion in funding before the deal closed. According to a regulatory filing, $25 billion will come from debt to financial institutions like Barclays, Bank of America, and Morgan Stanley. Musk will pay about $20 billion in equity, likely by selling Tesla stock or whittling down his stakes in other companies. The deal still must go through shareholders and legal processes, but if it is approved, Twitter will become a privately held company, which will remove roadblocks for Musk to make changes to the site.
If the deal gets totally cleared and he owns Twitter, he pretty much does what he wants. Ultimately, he's accountable to himself, but he is going to be accountable in a financial sense to the institutions and people who have supported and backed this.
Musk plans to use the private status of the company to make a number of changes to the site. Technical changes that Musk has tweeted about are things like adding an edit button, making tweets longer, and stopping spam bots. But he also has broader changes he wants to make that could change how the platform operates. These would at least include reducing Twitter's reliance on ad revenue, making the platform's algorithm open source, and softening the company's strict content moderation policy, which Musk has criticized in the past. In a TED conference interview after he initially put in the bid, he said he wanted Twitter to be an arena for free speech.
I do think that we want to be just very reluctant to delete things, just be very cautious with permanent bans. And a good sign as to whether there is free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like.
But how many of these changes could Musk actually make? Some are more feasible than others, but all are likely to come with challenges. Adding an edit button might sound easy to do, but does present technical issues.
Somebody tweets out something and 2 minutes later they decide, oh, maybe I should have said that differently or not said that, and try to change it. If somebody saw that in that interim and captured it, that original tweet can still live. And so it's kind of hard to get around that part of Twitter. And so I think technically speaking, a lot of the things that he said he wants to do that sound kind of simple, I think will probably prove to be not quite so much.
Musk may hit the most roadblocks in maintaining the company's profitability. Ads make up roughly 90% of Twitter's revenue, and removing them could leave the company scrambling for money. Fast, broad changes to the content moderation policy off the bat could also scare away advertisers.
I think the important qualification to consider is that the content moderation policies that are supposed to keep Twitter, a safer and friendly place, a big plus to those is that it's what makes it an attractive platform for advertisers. Advertisers don't want to use platforms where all kinds of harmful stuff or those kinds of things go on.
And while Musk is free to make changes to Twitter without much oversight, he'll still be accountable for the loans he borrowed to make the bid, making it difficult to eliminate the company's reliance on ads.
He needs the cash flow from Twitter, and he'll probably need more of it. He'll need to come up with other ways Twitter can make money, but I don't think he can really afford right now to do away with advertising. He needs to pay for this deal. So I think that's going to kind of limit how many changes he could make or how drastic he could make them.
Neither Musk or Twitter immediately responded to requests for comment on the potential changes. The deal won't be fully confirmed until later this year, and users likely won't see any major changes to Twitter until then.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So why did the richest man in the world by the name called Elon Musk wanted to buy Twitter? Yeah. So Elon Musk wanted to acquire Twitter. If you read the news or you search something like Elon Musk Twitter, right, there are plenty of news. So in the initial part of this so-called episode, Elon Musk has shared that he wanted free speech. Now we have to be very, very careful. Now if you have been following Elon Musk likes to tweet. It appears that tweeting is his full-time job. Now, but remember, right, he likes to tweet. And not only he likes to tweet, he carries this superpower that whatever things that he tweets, the price will either go up or go down. So for example, he may tweet about Dogecoin. That's why Dogecoin, right, share price will go up. He talk about Tesla, the price will go up. So here, even though he said free speech, sometimes you do not know what is his true intention. Now, I want you to imagine that if he really took over entire Twitter, he privatized and he called the shot, right? And he could tweet whatever they want. So in fact, he could possibly manipulate the share price. Not many people, even Warren Buffett couldn't do it. But Elon Musk, interestingly, has this power to do it. So we do not know when he says free speech is free speech for him. Was it free speech for other people? Now, and then here, there are some newspapers say, oh yeah, Elon Musk is right. He's the richest man in the world. Everybody will say he's right. Now then, Elon Musk isn't buying Twitter to defend free speech. So that is other people who's trying to fight, right? Yeah. And of course, other articles also have different opinion. Yeah, exposes the real threat to free speech. Yeah. So is it really about free speech or is it something else? Until today, nobody will know. There's always two sides of the coin. People are debating, right? So putting different people's opinion aside, let's go into Twitter. Again, should we buy Twitter when the richest man in the world is really interested? Yeah. So just to let you know that, this one I'll just go through quickly because most of you will know what Twitter is all about. So Twitter was conceptualized and created in 2006 by these four gentlemen. Very quickly, this is a headquarter and so on. And the IPO was at $26. And the co-founders of Twitter, right, looks like this. Jack Dorsey. And I still remember Jack Dorsey bought I don't know, the first tweet as an NFT, right, for a couple of million. Then he thought he wanted to sell it. Then eventually only like a few $100s or something like that. So Jack Dorsey, so this is how people look like. Jack Dorsey, I think, is the most popular one, among all the rest of the founders, right? Yep. So that's how Twitter got started, right? So their slogan is, you just send a very short message to the world so that people know what's happening and what people are talking about right now, because very live, right? Very live, So if you compare to Facebook, you can write one whole chunk of things. Twitter, you only have a certain limit. So the photos that you see in the image are just screenshot of tweets by people, right? Yeah. So now with such a platform that allow people to send short text, a bit of pictures, a bit of video, does it work? So how does the business model work? So let's start with this Twitter, which is a tiny little bird. Now, in order for this Twitter to make money, right? They are like Facebook. So you realize that when you use Facebook, you don't pay, right? If you don't pay, how do you make money? Because they don't make money from you, which are the users. So it's free, right? You just need a registered account. You can tweet, you can upload, you can do whatever. It's free. Now, so the trick for Twitter, right, is they want to gather a lot of eyeballs, a lot of traffic, a lot of humans to use their platform. Free. So we will expect the initial years not to be making money. So free. So once it reaches a critical mass, right, they will ask the advertisers, hey, I have a couple of million of users. Do you want you to promote to my users, right, through my platform? Yeah. Then you pay me advertising fee. So this is the first source of income, right, for Twitter. That means they make money from advertisers. So this arrow is to show where the money flows. Flows from advertiser to Twitter. Yeah. Through Twitter ads. So Facebook, they have Facebook ads, right? So Twitter, they have Twitter ads. Yeah. So as time goes, okay, more users come in, network effect, more users come in, more advertisers come in, until it reach bigger and bigger, right? Yeah, bigger and bigger. Then they try to do something funny, right? So Twitter was saying, if you don't want to see ads, maybe you should pay a small little subscription, right, to this service called Twitter Blue, so that there are no ads, and you also have, your special premium account has some customizer feature. YouTube has this thing, right? I think it's only recently, maybe about 1 year ago. YouTube has a lot of irritating ads. Yeah, I don't have yet. But one day, don't have yet. So irritating ads. Then you must skip, you cannot. Then it forces you to watch the first few seconds, right? So if you don't want to see ads, you pay this YouTube Premium. Is it similar, right? Yeah. So the subscription, I can't remember how much. I think it's $3 per month, something like that. So they call it Twitter Blue. So right now they make money from here, they make money from here. So it start to grow, right? Then after that, they want to make another third source of income. The third source of income are from developers. So what do I mean, right? So since Twitter, right, is a platform for millions of users in the world to use, which means that what the user posts, what time they post, the type of things that they post, everything is all within Twitter. So in other words, Twitter will have all the data, right, of their consumers. So what they do is they approach developers, hey, I tell you what, you can access the data that we have, through a certain application called API. We'll talk more about this later on. And through this data, right, maybe you can come up with some form of software, solution, service, where you can provide to the advertisers. But if you want to have the data, you must pay me. So you see the arrow goes from here to here, here to here, here to here. But of course, even though the developer pays Twitter, right, if they are able to sell their services to the advertisers over here, the money flows from here. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. This is the entire Twitter's business model. So if Elon Musk take over, I'm not sure what will he do. Will he kill off ads? Will he kill off anything? We are not sure. But this is how Twitter make money. Okay. So we're going to go to a detail, right? Let's talk about the advertisers. So what kind of ads, if you're using Twitter, what kind of ads do you see, right? So the picture on the right shows an example of a Twitter ad. So in other words, there are 4 types of advertising services that Twitter provide to merchants, let's say like myself. So the first type ads, they call it promoted ads. So in other words, you scroll, suddenly you see ads that pops up, something like this. Yeah, so all these are promoted ads, very bare minimum, right? Pictures with a bit of text, that's it. Then after that, they will charge a bit more, right? A bit more. So they have a promoted ads, but the promoted ad has another extra button that looks something like this. Oh, you see this ad? Do you want to follow me? You know, can you see? This one got no button, right? Yeah, so follower ads, that means it's a promoted ads with a follow button. Yeah. Then they add more things. Why don't you try our Twitter Amplify? I mean, what is this? Twitter Amplify, right? That means your ad has things like your logo, which is prominently a display, right, over a certain duration. Yeah. So here you see there's no logo. All these things, there is no logo. Then you can also add additional labeling. There's also thumbnail and so on. So in other words, there are more things that is being added to amplify existing ad, which is called Twitter Amplify. Then some more, they want to make more money, right? So they introduce more service. And there is this thing called Twitter Takeover. And then Twitter Takeover can be broken into 2 subcategories. One is called a timeline takeover, and one is called a trend takeover. Wow, what is this? Timeline takeover, right? Timeline takeover, it simply means that if you pay for this service, your ad will be the first ad that appeared for the day. So you don't have competition, you're the first one. Poop. And then if it's a trend takeover, right, as the name implies, a trend, right, that means they will place your ad right beside the latest trending topic, so that it's more visible. In short, the more money you pay, right, the more visible your ads are. So if I bring back to here, right, can you see under advertising, these are the 4 types of promoted ads. Yeah, so this is one way they make money, right? And remember, subsequently, they want to make money from here, right? You don't want the irritating ads, you can subscribe Twitter Blue, right? Yeah. So Twitter Blue is $3 per month, but don't estimate these $3. You must understand how many users they have, right? 3 times millions is a lot of money, right? And of course, they talk about exclusive feature and so on. So I just move very quickly, so I don't have to go into the detail. But anyway, no ads, special premium features, right? As well as some form of ad customization. So the key thing is no ads, So that's Twitter Blue. Okay, Twitter Blue, right? Now let's move on to the last one, which is the developer's subscription. How does it work? How does it work, right? Now, in order for me to talk about this developer subscription, I just need to introduce a term called API, right? If you're a programmer, you know this term. API stands for Application Programming Interface. But don't worry. Let me show you how it works. Now, for those people who are in our 4-day VIP program, value investing program, right, they will have a lifetime free access to our portal. And the portal, right, it allows them to pull out data. So, for example, if they type Starbucks, Starbucks ticker symbol, right? Yep. Then the page will refresh and it will present graph like this. Yeah, but in order for the portal to present graph, they have to extract numbers from somewhere so that they can present in the graph form. So what our portal do, a VA portal do, right, is they retrieve data, right, from a database. Of course, you need to have an internet connection. And the database is actually from Morningstar. It can be from any other company, CNBC, whatever, for any other company, right? But ours, we work with Morningstar. So we extract data from Morningstar, and then we present it in a way so that users can see what they like to see. Yeah. But in order for our portal to speak to the database, right, they need some form of programming code. And this programming code is simply called API, or Application Programming Interface. In short, it's like a bridge, right, that links our portal to the database so that these 2 ends talk to each other. An example, right, of an API will be a series of code. Now, I'm not a programmer, so I see this, I don't know what is it all about. But my vendor will know what is it. I give this thing to him or to connect. So he's able to connect our portal to the database. And the reason why I want to introduce this API, right, is because the developer want to get information from Twitter, right? They need to have a link, a bridge. So this bridge is Twitter API, right? Because it's an API that belongs to the Twitter, right? So that the developer can use this API to go and get data from Twitter, right? So that they can come up with their own services and products to sell it, right, to the advertisers. Yeah. So you see, if you are able to get information on Twitter, you can build beautiful interactive tweets on the advertiser's website and so on. So these are just some examples. Okay, so in short, developer, let me list out here, right? Can you see? Yeah, so if you want, you can take a screenshot of this. So this is how Twitter make money. And I even give the sub breakdown, right? Sub breakdown, huh? Okay, so now the key thing is, business model always looks nice. They want to do this, they want to do that, right? So now the question is, the richest man in the world want to buy a company, right, with a business model that looks like this. So now the next question is it working? Is it working? If Elon Musk is going to buy over, right, will it make money for Elon Musk, or has it been making money? So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to hand over my time to Hillary, where she's going to go deep dive the numbers and whether is a Twitter a profitable company. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm back for the night again. So now I'll be presenting about the quantitative data of Twitter. So first off, we'll see how Twitter actually generate revenue. Just now earlier on, Cayden has shared that how on the qualitative side. So now we'll look at the numbers, how much is Twitter making money. So first off, in 2021, Twitter has actually generated a total of 5.08 billion of revenue, and almost 90% of the revenue is coming from advertising revenue. So what does advertising revenue comprise of? Earlier on, Cayden has shared in detail like what our promoter ads are, Twitter Amplify, follower ads, and Twitter Takeover. And there's another part of it, which is a data licensing and other revenue, which is licensing to third parties and provide mobile advertising exchange services, so as if they are selling the data to third parties so that they can use the Twitter data to do analysis or maybe set up some programming or solutions for their customers. And by region-wise, Twitter has the most users in the US region, which comprise more than 50% of it, than by international. But for international, it does not include China and also Iran, because they ban access from it. And however, in 2021, Twitter actually sold off MoPub. So what is MoPub? MoPub is a mobile monetizing platform where they help to drive revenue for advertising and also mobile transactions. Remember earlier on when we said about data licensing, where they sell some data to third parties and also generate revenue from mobile transactions. This is the subsidiary that is working on it. But they sell it off in 2021 to this app-loving company for about 1.05 billion. And they said that in January 1st, 2022, they officially sell it off. So right now, this data licensing will be changed name to become subscription and other revenue. So it actually comprised of earlier on what Cayden has shared about Twitter development platform, and also Twitter Blue and other subscription-related offerings. So it's no longer selling pure data to third parties. So right now in Q1 2022, advertising revenue still makes up the most, which is about 92% of the total revenue in the first quarter. And right now, they are showing as subscription and other revenue, which is the subscription revenue from Twitter development platform, Twitter Blue, and also other subscription-related offerings. Unfortunately, there's no data show how much of the revenue was generated in terms of region. So this is what we managed to get from the first quarter results. And for their future plans, when I was doing the research, it's actually quite interesting because after they sell off the MoPub, they actually have some plans in hand. They are now exploring new revenue streams into the creator economy. So what is really creator economy? Later on, we will share a bit more like what really is creator economy. So they actually made some strategic acquisitions, for example, like a newsletter platform called Review, a clubhouse-like audio rooms, like that means you set up an auditorium and then the influencers or maybe some creators, they can organize some events, some talk shows for people to attend, but in a virtual sense instead of a physical room. And also Super Follows, Ticketed Space, and also Twitter Blue. So these are some of the plans that they list out. So they have a goal by Q4 2023 is that they wanted to increase their daily active user to about 315 million. So currently, the latest figure that we have is about 217 million in Q4 of 2021. And they are setting up new features to keep the users within Twitter to use the platform, to keep on using the platform, and also keep on building more users so that they can reach their target by 2023. So first one is Review, which is a newsletter platform, and also Twitter Spaces. So this one is the audio-based social networking. So if you have a Twitter account, you will realize that actually you can go into the room and then attend some related talk shows, and you'll be able to see who is attending, like who is organizing the events. Yeah. So here in this article, it says that the future of Twitter is no longer about tweets, but they are moving forwards to newsletters and podcasts. So how does it actually go? So when they acquire Review, it's because they are trying to work together with creators, because some people, they will write newsletters, but they do not have a platform to really build up their audiences so that the audiences can subscribe to their newsletter. So currently, Twitter offered this platform for them so that they can attract audiences to make them aware of their newsletter, and from there they can have the opportunity to monetize their the audiences by subscribing to their subscription newsletter. Yeah, so whenever people are interested in something, they are able to find it from Twitter and then subscribe to that relative creator. And they also acquired Breaker, which is a podcasting app. And for Breaker, they are actually very passionate about audio communication, which is one of the reasons why they see this opportunity and work together with Twitter to build up the Twitter Spaces. Okay, so the second goal that they had is that they wanted to double the revenue to 7.5. So currently in 2021, the total revenue that they generated was about 5 billion. So they wanted to increase to 7.5 billion. So how are they going to do that? First thing, they said that they will do more subscription offerings and also create more monetizing opportunities for creators. So earlier on, Cayden has shared about Twitter Blue. This is actually one of the latest features that they had. So they are giving an option for Twitter users whether they can choose just to use the platform for free, or they wanted to have more features, more premium features, or no ads by subscribing to Twitter Blue. And then there's this Super Follows, where the creator can create a subscription for their followers so that they can gain more information, gain more premium features from them. For example, if I like certain influencers or maybe creator, whatever he shows on social media is for free, but he has additional information and I wanted to know more about it. So maybe I'll subscribe to him, pay him a certain monthly subscription fee to get more premium features from him. And then Ticket Spaces is actually work hand in hand together with Twitter Spaces. So how does it actually work? We'll look at these subsequent slides. So for Super Follow, this is how it actually works. So if you know Patreon, Super Follow is something similar to Patreon, where the creator will say that, oh, I have extra information on it, so you can subscribe to me and you can get it from this platform. So this is what Twitter is moving forward to, because when creators are creating certain contents on their platform, people will want to follow them, so they will use that platform, and that is one of the ways that Twitter think of to build their audiences. And this ticketed spaces is actually for the creators to organize talk shows, meet and greet, or maybe some workshops. So imagine that last time, whenever we wanted to attend some concerts or maybe some talk shows of our idols or maybe influencers, we have to pay ticket and attend physically to the auditorium rooms or maybe some concert halls, right? But right now, you can actually do it from the comfort of your room in a virtual sense. And in order for the creator to monetize, Twitter come up with these ticketed spaces so that they can charge their followers as a term to say that supporting them to organize these events. Okay, so now we'll look into their moats and competitors. So when I was doing the research in 2013, this analyst says that Twitter actually benefit from the network effects, because we know that on the early days, Twitter was very popular and people were using a lot, because people are using Twitter to get more information about the latest news, the latest trends. So they say that, okay, it seems like Twitter has this mode because many people are using this platform. However, in 2017 onwards, another article says that Twitter's moat has actually eroded. What happened? So in this article, it says that actually the user growth for Twitter has actually slowed down. So when the user growth has actually slowed down, that means there might only be a certain numbers of people are using the platform, but there's no new blood going into the user platform, user base to grow it. So if let's say there's only a certain amount of people using the social media platform, the advertisers might not see the incentive to pay for the advertisement services. And from then, Twitter might having issue to generate revenue. So we'll look on further on the number of users. So we can see that from 2004 until 2019, actually Facebook is taking the lead. You can see how exponentially the number of people are using Facebook is growing, then followed by YouTube. But where is Twitter? Here is Twitter. And you can see Twitter is in between a lot of different social media platforms, so it's a bit hard to see. So I'll clean it up a bit so we can see that from 2010 until 2015, Twitter is growing. So that's why the article shows up in 2013. It says that Twitter is benefit from the network effect because people are using Twitter platform. But 2016 onwards, you can see that actually the user growth have actually plateaued. So when the article comes out in 2017, it says that the Twitter's moat has already eroded because the user growth has already slowed down. And now we have the latest figure in April 2022. YouTube is still taking the lead. Then here is Twitter. So we can see that earlier on, Twitter, since 2019, the number of users that are using it is below 500 million. But in the latest figure, Twitter is getting close to 500 million, but it's still below 500 million. So now we are curious that what does people usually use social media for? So how do they spend their time on the social media? So most of the people use social media to keep in touch with friends, to find out how they are, especially during the COVID period where we cannot fly anywhere. So we can only catch up with them over technology. So this is where social media platform steps in to fill in the gap so that we can find out how our relatives or friends are doing recently since we cannot meet face-to-face. And the second point that most people use the social media is by filling their spare time because they have too much time, they don't know where they want to spend, so they just go onto the social media to find certain contents, interesting stuff or entertaining contents to look on, to watch. And also people also use social media to read news because whenever people post something, other than contents, they also might post the latest trends or maybe latest news. Like for example, the latest news like Ukraine war. So you can see on the social media platform, there's a lot of news about the Ukraine war and also the latest movie like Doctor Strange. Yeah, and I heard that once Doctor Strange was airing, and then on the first day, there's a lot of spoilers flooded the social media. So people like kind of rush to go into the cinema to watch it so that they are not being spoiled by spoilers. Okay, so now we are curious that since we know what people are using platform for, so where does Twitter stand? So for Twitter, people mostly use it to keep up to date to the latest news because it's quite hard to imagine you use Twitter to watch, find interesting content or anything, but most people are curious about what people is talking about, like what is the latest trends, what are the latest news. So that is where people turn to Twitter to find out all these informations. So now we will look into their financial numbers. So we can see that here, year over year, Twitter is the revenue for Twitter is actually increasing. But if we look in slightly detail, we notice that in 2017 there was a slight drop. So we actually checked that actually there was about a minute drop in their advertising revenue. So that's why the total revenue for 2017 was a drop. But all in all, you can see it's an upward trend. So maybe that might be the reason why Elon Musk was attracted to it. So who knows? Now we look at their net income. So net income is actually, you took all the revenue and then you minus off all the expenses, then we will know how much the company is actually making money or are they losing money. So for Twitter, I draw out a red line to show that where is the break-even point, which is at 0. So we can see that since the early days of Twitter, it's actually losing money. Until 2018 and 2019, it shoots up to be profitable before it shoots back down in 2020 to be in the red zone. So actually what happened between these 3 years? So when we look into the financial report, we noticed that in 2018 and 2019, they actually has a tax rebate. But for 2020, they have to pay quite a high amount of taxes. So why they have to pay quite an amount of taxes? They mentioned that it's because they need to pay taxes for foreign subsidiary. So if we are to plot a new point to minus off the taxes and see the pre-tax income of Twitter, is actually all this. So this, the yellow line is actually showing the actual pre-tax income of Twitter. And from what I see, most of the years are still within the red zone. So according to the value investing methodology, this one does not look very good. And then for earnings per share, the definition of earnings per share means that, for example, how much can the company generate profit for every share that the investor purchased. So for example, if let's say the earnings per share is $5, it means that for every share that the investor purchased, the company is able to generate $5 for that share. So here we see that the earnings per share actually follows very closely with the net income. So most of the years, the net income is in the red zone. The earnings per share also shows the similar trend as per the net income. So it does not look good to me as well. So for free cash flow, the definition for free cash flow is actually operating cash flow minus off capital expenditure. So operating cash flow is actually a cash flow that is generated from day-to-day business operations. And the capital expenditure is expenses used by the company to buy assets that can last more than 12 months. So we see that since 2015, it was increasing, but 2019 onwards actually drops. So that means there's no cash flow coming in for Twitter at the moment. But why it actually happened? It's because when we look into the annual report, we notice that they are having quite high amount of capital expenditure being spent. So the capital expenditure is used to support their existing data centers and also their infrastructure needs. So we can see that they are bringing out a lot of new plans, so they need to have some investment into these new plans. And we also wanted to know how is the debt to equity ratio of Twitter. So debt to equity ratio, according to the value investing methodology, it has to be less than 0.5. It means that for every $100 of the equity, the company cannot take more than $50 of debt. So from here, I draw a line to show clearly that where is 0.5, but we see that at the last year, there was a sharp increment, about 0.75 of debt to equity. So actually, what happened? So now, when we look into the financial statements, it says that they sell off some senior notes. So senior notes is actually a type of a bond or maybe a debt that the company issued to their investors. And if let's say the company is having financial issues and they went bankrupt, the investors who has senior note will first get back their money. So they have a higher priority claim for this. So what is really a bond? So now we make a comparison between a stock and a bond. So for a bond, it's actually a debt instrument to say that, okay, I issue you a note, that means a promise, so that you give me certain money, and then after when the note is being due, like for example, this year I give you a note, so 2 years later, I'll return back your investment with interest. So this is the meaning of bonds. And Twitter actually mentioned that the interest will be paid semi-annually, that means twice per year, but the interest rates and also other terms of the notes will be discussed when there's between the Twitter and also the buyers. And all these proceeds that they gain from the investor is for general corporate purposes, like for example, capital expenditures and also investment, or maybe repay some debts. Okay, so because it's a bit wordy, so I pull out some of the information. So these are the notes that they issued for the past few years. In 2018, they issued the notes to due in 2024, and they got back about 1.15 billion. 2019, the notes were due in 2027. However, in 2020, the notes were due in 2025. And 2021, the notes will due in 2026. And here we look over throughout the years, the long-term debt, and they said that they had actually accumulated about 4.29 billion. So here, and then when we calculated the debt to equity, it's more than 0.5. So that's why there was a sharp spike increment in 2021 for their debt to equity. Okay, so now once we have learned more about their numbers, we wanted to know that what are the potential risks. So first thing is very stiff competition, because we know that other than Twitter, people can use different types of social platforms to meet up with friends, get information, or maybe spend their free time. And especially the younger generations, they like to use more interactive social media platforms, like for example, TikTok or Snapchat. I know that the younger generation always says that people who are using Facebook are older people. Younger people are using something like TikTok or some other newer social media platforms. And earlier on, we have seen that actually there's not really an exclusive economic mode for Twitter. And also their user base are actually slowing down. So when the user base are slowing down, it will also affect how Twitter is able to generate revenue, making money from them. And people might not be receptive to new features, because when I was doing the research, when people say that, oh, there's new features, people will get excited. But unfortunately, Twitter has tried to bring out some new features, like for example, Fleet, where the users can share contents and then it will disappear after 24 hours. Does this sounds like Insta story or maybe Facebook story? Like you post something, then after 24 hours, the content lost. You see? And then there's another feature that they launched in 2013 called Vine, where people will watch 6 seconds of video in loops, like Boomerang, and also TikTok. So even though they tried to launch these new features, it was not well receptive, so they end up have to close down these services. So even though Twitter has launched a few interesting features earlier on that I shared in the future plans, will it work out? No one knows. And also, Twitter currently is not profitable, as we've seen from their net income and also EPS. And also, we also saw from their debt to equity, they are actually using debt to fuel growth and also maintain the company operation. So to conclude, yes, there are many new exciting features that Twitter is bringing out. And people like to share latest news or trends like tweet on Twitter platform. But it's in a very stiff competition, so they have to fight for the users' time, attention to use their platform. Since there's a lot of social media platform, why should one choose Twitter over maybe Facebook or YouTube? And also, there's a lack of economic mode, which is a bit quite hard for them to stand out among other social media platforms. And also, currently, it's not really financial fundamentally strong. So, all in all, this is my presentation for the quantitative side of Twitter, and I pass back to Cayden. Thank you.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hillary has already shared the pros and cons if you want to invest in Twitter, right? But before you make a choice of whether should you buy Twitter because the richest man in the world is interested, let me show you this slide over here, right? Now, Twitter's new CEO, now just take note, the article is 1st April 2022, so it's pretty new, right? Now, Twitter's new CEO, this guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name, received 30 million pay package in 2021. Now, I just let you reconcile the information where, number one, the company is not making money. Okay, number two, while the company is not making money, the new CEO is making 30 million. So if you try to connect the dots, I'm just thinking if I'm Elon Musk, right, and if I bought over the whole company, I think the first person I want to fire maybe is this fella. Yeah, because he's making too much money, right? Now let's compare this with Steve Jobs. Now, when Steve Jobs took over Apple, Apple was, I think, 5 or 6 weeks at the brink, right, of bankruptcy. At the brink of bankruptcy, right? And Steve Jobs' salary was $1. So can you see the difference between the two management? Yeah, where Steve Jobs knows that the company cannot make it, he's drawing $1, and this new CEO cannot make it, he draws 30 million. Can you see the difference? So now the question is, if the company is not making money, And this guy is like drawing 30 million, right? The 30 million has to come from somewhere, right? Come from somewhere. So who are the people who pay the 30 million? It's the gundus, the investors who pass the money through Twitter so that this guy can draw 30 million, right? And just now you look at the senior notes. Yeah, the company is trying to raise money from debt. And then after they raise money from debt, in terms of funding their growth, can you imagine a portion of the borrowed money, right, goes into this guy's paycheck? So somehow it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And if I want to use my life savings to buy Twitter, where the company is losing money and this CEO is making 30 million out of my money, right? So why should I invest in the first place? So I think you have to think very carefully, right? So when Elon Musk want to take over, he's the richest man in the world, but we are not. So we have to think very carefully and not follow people shamelessly, right? And then there is one slide that the Hillary has shared. This is a very interesting slide. Now you look at the world most used social media platform. Facebook is #1. So where is Twitter? Cannot find right at the bottom. Pinterest, Reddit, Quora, all very small. No? So if given a choice, if I want to invest in a social media advertising platform, right? If given a choice, Twitter and Facebook. I mean, if the whole world there's only these two, I think I would choose Facebook. Because Facebook is still making money, except that the growth is slowing down. And then Facebook is moving into metaverse. Now, whether are they succeed or not, we're not sure. But if they do, right, it could be the next big thing. But what is Twitter doing? Twitter is no metaverse. I don't know what they're doing, So they don't have any next big thing, right, that is coming to fuel their growth. And then while they are borrowing money. So I find it quite worrying, right? But let's assume that the numbers all look fine, right? And then you want to come up with a valuation. Yeah, so Preston is very good. I don't know, Preston, is it our grad or not? Doesn't look like. See, especially Twitter's board of directors paid 3 million a year. Elon Musk, he'll reduce that to 0. You see, so I think Elon Musk is doing the right thing. And then 30 million is even more ridiculous. So let's come back to here, right? So you see, now you know got one CEO draw 30 million, right? Yeah, so you can understand why this one is negative. Because part of this negative goes inside this 30 million. Correct, So right now you die want to buy Twitter. You want to come up with intrinsic value. And then I look at this earnings per share. How am I going to calculate intrinsic value, right? Where out of 10 years, there are only 2 years of positive. Well, I find this quite challenging. And then if I look at operating cash flow, maybe this is possible. Even though there's a decline, right? At least quite a huge number. These 8 numbers are positive. So maybe I can still squeeze an intrinsic value out of a operating cash flow. Okay, So if I really want to squeeze an entry price, how would that look like? Now, Morningstar, right, it gave an intrinsic value of $54. And then the current price is 36. In short, Morningstar, it says it's undervalued. Wow. So the more I see this Morningstar evaluation, the more I get a bit skeptical about their valuation criteria. But anyway, these are professional side, right? That's why just now, before the break, I was talking about our US case study subscription. You know how important it is to evaluate properly. If you rely on Morningstar, I think quite serious, So let me look at the valuation criteria where I get from other website, right? So Guru Focus says it's $60. Yeah. Then Morningstar says $29. Then VIA, which is me, I say it's hard. This is too difficult, especially the 30 million one. Wow, I think that one I cannot sleep. If I have a gun, I will bring up this guy and then shoot the fella. Okay, So the current share price is 36, which means, wait, I think Morningstar I typed wrongly. Let me just go with Morningstar. Morningstar is 54, sorry. So here should be 54. So in short, based on Guru Focus and Morningstar, right, the Twitter is undervalued. So to them it's a buy. Wow, I find it quite hard to accept, but I let you decide, So let's play the game one more time. I may need our teammates' help, right, to do a poll again. Hey, Preston, are you the same Preston? Right? Preston Cole, right? Okay, so if you look at the screen, again, you got 3 baskets, right? By the way, this concept introduced by the Vice President of Berkshire, which is called Charlie Munger. So you say before you press the button, right? Before press the button, ask yourself, you want to toss a ball, right, for Twitter. Which basket does it belong to? Does it belong to A, which is a low risk, high return, B, high risk, high return, right? Or high risk, low return? Yeah. So maybe you want to play this game first. Just do a poll first, right? After you do a poll, then we will conclude. I'll share with you my thoughts. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to do this, right? Wow, the 30 million. How can this CEO take 30 million from a company that don't make money, right? Okay, so we have about 75% high risk, low return. Here's about 12, 14, 14 and 10%. Okay, thank you. So in other words, these two baskets, which is A and B, has the lowest percentage, and then C has the highest percentage. Now, I share with you my thoughts. Oh, the Preston who has the funny meme. Oh, okay, correct. So if I'm going to toss a ball, I'm going to toss it to C. Toss it to C. So I don't feel very comfortable about Twitter or putting my hard-earned money inside. But if you want to buy one stock just for fun, right? For example, you want to buy one stock in Twitter and buy one stock in the Teladoc, right? And then later that one stock was strangely went up by 100%. Then you put on your Facebook, then you got boasting, right? You say, I bought Twitter, and then you make 100%. Actually, you only bought one stock. Yeah. So be very careful when people use percentage to boast, right? Yeah, you do not know how much they actually make in terms of absolute. So for me, I think I will toss into C. But remember, this is not a fact. When I'm tossing to C, it's my opinion, right? It's my opinion. So now the key thing is, if you look at what people talk about in the news and social media, people talk about what? Teladoc. Professional site, CNBC, whatever, BBC, okay, Teladoc, everybody talk about Teladoc, YouTuber, Teladoc. And then after that, richest man in the world buy Twitter. Oh, people start talking about Twitter and so on. So it's only through thorough analysis and knowing what a company do, the fundamentals, like what Hillary is doing, and then like what I shared, right, the intrinsic value, then you come to a conclusion that for Teladoc and Twitter, actually most of you, right, have voted C. Voted C, So it's a high-risk game. High-risk game. So in other words, in real life, most of you would have skipped these two stocks. Yeah. Now, the fact that you skip these two stocks means that your capital is protected. So if you've got $10,000, your $10,000 is protected. But you also want to grow this 10,000, correct? You don't want to protect forever, right? So you want to grow 10K to 15, 15 to 20, right? So have a good night. Remember, we are VIA, and our mission is we care to make you a better investor. So have a good rest, and I shall see you soon in our next deep dive. Okay, goodbye.